I don't care what your reason is. I don't care what your excuse is. If you give away your dog to a shelter, you are an awful human being.
Non-apologetic nonsense.
Oh my God. I was at the animal shelter today. Holy hell, that place is depressing. It is very much animal jail, just hallways and hallways of lost hope. Dogs that don't even get up anymore to greet you because they've seen so many people and probably been through so many owners. I was there donating air filters. They go through a lot, like furnace filters. Oh my God, that is like Silence of the Lamb type crip stuff there. And that's the thing. People who give away their dogs are just garbage human beings. I know everyone has their story. My kid didn't like it. I moved someplace that I just couldn't deal with it. You are a garbage human being if you give away a dog. Now, if you've never had a dog, you might not understand this. All they want is to be around you. You become their entire world, sun, freaking stars, everything. You mean the world to that dog. And if you give him away because he's not convenient for you anymore, I just can't fathom it. And plus, yourself, like your personality, if you're the type of person to do that, don't get a dog. You know what I mean? Get a rabbit or gerbil that's going to pass and run its natural course within 4.5 months. Get a goldfish. I don't know. It's just bananas to me. Like, I can remember, I had a dog, Shadow. He passed last year, but he always needed surgeries. And it's not like he was in a bad state in between the surgeries. He just had a bunch of heart issues, some other issues. So I think he was about 5. No, I think it was about 8. And he needed this surgery, and no one local would do it, right? Everyone's like, nah, you need like a high-level vet surgeon. You need to go to Northwest Arkansas, which is like 3 hours, maybe more from me. So I talked to him on the phone, and I'm like, how much is this going to be? At first, they told me $2,900, and I'm like, man, there's no way I can come up with that. Can we do a payment plan? Can we do this? Can we do that? I went back and forth. Eventually, they said $1,900. So I went to the bank trying to get a bank loan, and what I ultimately winded up doing was doing one of them. It's like a payday loan, but it's for your vehicle. Like you put the tag of your vehicle up. I had nothing. I remember going down and I had to wait outside for like 8 hours. And I had like enough money to pay for the surgery, gas there and back, and like $8 to eat on, so I just sit out there and read. What I'm trying to say though is I had nothing and I still got that done, right? 90% of people that would have been the end of the dog. They just would have put him down. And then for him, it was like every couple years, there was another surgery or another thing that needed to be done. But like I say, in between, he was great. It wasn't like a horrible life for him. He had a great life up until the last 12 hours or so. Those were pretty miserable. It was middle of the night. I see the dog is suffering. I know the signs of heart failure. I was having to like kickstart his heart back. And I just couldn't bring myself to take him outside and handle it on my own, Now, he did have a miserable 12 hours, but he did pass of natural causes at 15 years old. So even my current dog, he's 10. So about when he was 5-ish, he started having like back troubles. And I don't mean like you're paying too much attention to the dog. Being anamorphic, reading signs that aren't there, saying, oh, the dog is smiling, anything like that. What I mean is he couldn't take more than 2 or 3 steps without screaming. I didn't even know a dog could scream. So we tried everything. Eventually there was this experimental shot. This was a last resort, but it was actually hurting a lot of animals. Now we winded up choosing that because there was no other options. And luckily enough, it gave him his life back. Now I do have to pay for like a $80 shot every month. Sometimes we go a little longer if he's doing all right, 6 weeks or so. But that's like an ongoing expense. But that's what you do. You put in the commitment, you keep them, them dogs in them animal shelters. Wow. I mean, it is quite, I've been in prisons and they weren't this sad. This is quite possibly the saddest place on earth. It is just, oh man, it just makes you hate humanity. But I was actually there for a second reason. It wasn't just for the donations. It was, it's been a year since, like I say, Shadow passed. So I think it's time for me to get a dog for my other dog, where he has someone to run, play, frolic the land with. But I don't know how to go about it because, like, my current dog, I got from a barn. It was just like in the paper, some farmer, had a litter of puppies and you just go there. I think I got him when he was only like 4 weeks old. He was just like little guy in the palm, I think should probably get from a shelter, but I don't really understand how it works. I talked to someone a little bit today and it was like, well, you get on like a waiting list or we have to do some background check on you and then maybe you get approved. That seems like a headache on its own. But then how do you go about the dogs? Because most of those dogs, at least the ones that I saw, they weren't puppies, right? They were like, this is a 4-year-old, this is a 6-year-old, this is a 12-year-old. Like, I don't necessarily want to get a dog that old, even though that's probably the right thing to do. But you'll just be getting them to lose them, But I don't understand, like, I'd never potty trained a dog, right? Both of these dogs I'm talking about, I had a girl who lived in my home with me, a girl I was dating, and she handled all of that. I think even at that time, my mother was involved. I don't remember I was not involved any more than taking the dog out. I don't understand how any of that works. What I'm worried the most about, though, I'll tell you, is getting a dog and being like, this is the one, this is what we're getting. And then bringing him home and like him and my current dog I don't mean they just don't like each other. I mean, they adamantly, literally try to kill each other. Like my dog is a little dog, but he's a country dog. Like he's a killer, So I do worry because then what do you do, right? Then you can't even leave him alone. And the whole purpose of this thing is just blown to hell. I do wonder, and it's almost a criteria for me now that I think about it, if I can bring my current dog in and put him in their cages, let's just call them what they are, put him in a cage with the animal and me, and see if like a bond of some sort, or at least a toleration can be built. I do wonder if you could take the dog home for the weekend, right? And say, hey, I'm going to bring him back on Monday. But then again, I understand that's pretty douchey too, because the dog gets like a glimpse of a real life and then you just smack him back in jail. How do you know, will they always get along, right? Like, will two dogs who are put in the same home, who may not care for each other or whatever, will they eventually? You know what I'm saying? Will that bond always form? I don't know, because I want to get it done, but I don't want to do it like the fuckhead way. Like I say, where you have to give away a dog, you have to do this, you have to do that. I don't know. It does feel weird, though, even going, yeah, getting another dog. Because, see, when the dog I'm speaking about, when he passed, like, I can see it from the front door, the grave spot. What I did was put him down, inside the hole, and then put a sapling, like a little baby tree, on top of him, and then he essentially becomes the tree, right? So every day, which is good and bad. It's good because, like, well, you have something to remind you of him, I guess, but it's bad because if you don't want to think about it, you get smacked in the face every time you open the door, because it's right to the left of my driveway. But once the tree, it's still a little guy, it looks like a little bush. Once the tree turns into a big tree, then I think I'll be happy I did it that way. But I guess next week it is to the shelter I go. I'm going blind. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I guess I'm going to figure it out. And before I go, I will say one more thing. I don't care what your reason is. I don't care what your excuse is. If you give away your dog to a shelter, you are an awful human being.